lines on a map, blood on the ground. We often talk about military strategy in terms of troops and tanks and jets, but what if the real power, the real game, isn't just about the hardware? What if it's about the wallet? In this explainer, we're going to follow the money trail, a trail that leads right to the heart of America's military dominance in one of the most volatile places on Earth, the Persian Gulf. And trust me, what we find just might change how you look at modern war forever.
So to really get a grip on what we're talking about, you have to start with the price tag. Just look at this number, $886 billion. That's the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2024. I mean, try to even wrap your head around that. It's so huge, it's almost abstract, right? It's more than the entire economic output of many countries. This isn't just a budget, it's a statement of global power. And as we're about to see, it's also a pretty powerful tool of financial control.
So, where does a colossal pile of cash like that actually go? Well, it gets carved up between giants. If you look at the request for 2026, you can see the Air Force and the Navy alone are asking for hundreds of billions of dollars. Each of these departments is basically a global corporation, a massive enterprise with a reach that stretches way, way beyond any single battlefield.
Okay, so let's take all this abstract budget talk and bring it down to earth. Let's follow that money from Washington, D.C. to one single critical point on the map, a place where all this financial power gets turned into actual military muscle. We're headed to Naval Support Activity Bahrain.
Yeah, Bahrain. This small island nation is the command center for America's entire Gulf Armada, the U.S. Fifth Fleet. And just look at the sheer scale of this operation. We're talking about a naval force patrolling 2.5 million square miles of ocean. That includes some of the most important shipping lanes in the entire world. On any given day, you've got a force of over 15,000 sailors and Marines out there, centered around an entire carrier strike group. This is no temporary visit, folks. This is a permanent fortress of American power.
And that brings us to the big question, right? The real question we're digging into here. Why? Why park one of the most powerful naval forces in human history permanently in the Persian Gulf? Now, the easy answer, the one you always hear, is oil. But what if that's not the whole story? What if that's not even the most important part of the story? What if the real answer is a lot more about money? To really get what's going on, you have to understand this one key financial idea: petrodollar recycling. I know, it sounds kind of complicated, but the concept is actually pretty simple. You see, oil exporting countries, especially in the Gulf, make so much money selling oil, and they make it in US dollars, that they can't possibly spend it all at home. They're literally swimming in cash. And this creates this really interesting and incredibly powerful financial loop.
Okay, so here's how this loop works. Step 1, and this is absolutely crucial. Oil is priced and sold around the world in US dollars. That alone creates a huge, constant demand for American currency. Step 2, countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE end up with these massive piles of dollar surpluses. So what do they do with all that cash? That brings us to step 3. They recycle it. They send it right back into the US economy. And how do they do that? Step 4, they buy two main things: US debt in the form of Treasury securities, which helps fund the US government, and they buy billions upon billions of dollars worth of American military hardware. See, it's a perfect self-sustaining circle.
And this financial loop, this is at the very core of a really provocative theory of modern warfare. It's a theory that says the real fight isn't just about who controls the oil fields, it's about who controls the currency that oil is sold in. This is about the battle to keep the US dollar on top. And that battle is fought with a lot more than just interest rates.
This theory actually has a name: petrodollar warfare. As the source material puts it, it's the idea that the dollar's special status as the world's oil currency isn't some happy accident. It's a kind of power, a sort of economic imperialism that is actively and sometimes violently enforced by military power. So let's just put the two arguments right next to each other, nice and clear. On one side, you've got the conventional view, the story we're usually told. The Fifth Fleet is there to protect oil tankers, keep the sea lanes open, ensure regional stability. But on the other side, the petrodollar warfare theory offers a much more cynical take. It says the fleet is there to protect the system itself, to make absolutely sure that oil keeps getting priced in dollars, which keeps that whole financial loop we just talked about spinning.
And that's the absolute heart of it.
The crucial point here is that the primary mission of this massive, unbelievably expensive military presence might not be about protecting the physical barrels of oil at all. It might be about protecting the financial system that makes the US dollar the world's default currency. The guns aren't just there to stop bad guys. They're the ultimate insurance policy for a financial arrangement that benefits the United States enormously.
It really forces you to ask a pretty fundamental question. When you follow the money all the way from the Pentagon's budget to those naval bases in the Gulf, through the global oil markets, and right back to the US Treasury, you have to step back and wonder, is the world's most powerful military also its ultimate financial enforcer?